A journey through and to Alana.
Oh my kaku. So yes, I am the one that's standing before I Love Country Cafe, right? Because we know enough about our lunches that we had the spot, and then we had umeke yesterday, and so today's I Love Country Cafe. So I'm so inspired by these two women that I followed, and I kept telling them, I don't know why I'm in this group. I actually belong in another group, but Makalopo's metaphor is so appropriate because I'm talking about a similar thing, only different, and actually Makalopo helped me with it. But let me just really fast talk about my project. It's a professional development course that I offered to teachers last summer. It's called Alana. So I just want to define Alana because it kind of sets up what my thinking was. Okay. So Alana is to awaken, and we're seeing this phase of the sun rising. It's a connection to my own awakening of the Ike, or the knowledge in me, and I kind of shared that with my Mokua Hau poem when we met earlier last year. It is the intention for the teachers that come to the class to actually awaken by tapping into their own ancestral knowledge, their own mo'olelo, their own Mokua Hau. And it's a way to help these teachers to connect and create Irina with them, their students, and their content area. Spelled a different way, Alana, with the ko on the it is a free will offering. It's like a whole kuku, so this is kind of my gift to the teachers in my community, whoever basically was willing to show up. And then Alana Ia, which is to rise up. So it's a metaphor, it's a new opportunity to rise up, it's a call to action, a spiritual calling out to the universe, and a call for us to step aside and let the universe teach. So there really is no advantage to going on the last day. It's a high bar, but I mahalo the people that came before me to actually talk about a lot of these things. I don't have to talk about it. So I am at Kamehameha Hawaii, Kula Hawaii, culture-based educational practice. And I too wish that Rod was here because he tends to make a lot of work for us. But so my class is basically looking at culture-based education, and then you'll see this connection. Actually, I wanted to do this for those teachers that don't see themselves as part of our VAIL or working exit outcomes because they do not teach Hawaiian language or Hawaiian studies. Yeah. So Walter's group, the Moenaha-ers, do a great job of having conferences and these intermittent trainings within classes, but for the conferences, a lot of people that come are actually the Hawaiian language, Hawaiian studies, content area teachers. What I was looking at was actually hooking on to Dr. Kanaiaupuni's quote on culture-based educational strategies suggest promise. And that was my big word that I hooked on. They suggest promise where other Western culture-based strategies have failed in reducing the educational disparities between Indigenous students and their peers, and in promoting positive and successful outcomes among Indigenous students. And that one little quote actually led me through this whole journey. And so, I wanted to do something that was not just a one-shot conference deal or intermittent. Kamehameha actually has a great program for new to Hawaii or new to teaching teachers in the DOE, their Kahua program, which takes them through Moinaha culture-based education, but that's not the group that I was looking for either. So I was basically looking for a cohort of veteran teachers that didn't teach Hawaiian language or Hawaiian studies in my community. I was looking for us to basically share professional readings around culture-based education, to share in common experiences like huaka'i, going out on excursions, having the kupuna from our community come and talk story with us, having common practices that we did every day within the class, including pule, mana o kala, where we kind of all got together, having discussions, journaling, etc. And my questions were, how effective is this form of professional development in its ability to empower teachers to transform their own standard-based curriculum and practices through a Hawaiian worldview? So like Kapua, I was looking at what is that power to transform and teach through culture and not teach culture. And then what impact does this course make on the students' connections and engagement with the content from the perspective of these veteran teachers? Well, Alana is not meant to be a take and use course. It's not a program that I can bundle up and sell for whatever. I don't know what programs are going for now, but a lot. I definitely would not have to work anymore. But that's not what this is. So basically, that was all I'm really going to talk about for that program until I get to the end. What I really want to talk about is this mo'o worthiness that has kind of taken over my life. And everyone is super busy, and I feel like out of all of my colleagues, I really didn't feel that busy, but it's because I've been very conscious about only doing things that are mo'o worthy. So mo'o worthy basically means that it is worthy of my mo'oku au house. So it's worth being a part of my genealogy. It's mo'o worthy if it's the mo'olelo that I want to be told. And it's mo'o worthy if I feel that it is right for my mo'opuna. Okay? So that's my framing and my decision making. It's really that simple. So again, my life has been taken over by mo'oness. So I was really frustrated. I think it was last summer. It was a hot summer, I think, in the dorm. And then Mary said, come, I have air conditioning. So we definitely went and had air conditioning. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to find a frame for this journey, this project. And I never called it a research. I think I called it a research once because I thought I had to. And Gay said, when I'm reading this, it feels like you're in pain. And I was in pain because it's not a research. So I couldn't find any of these frameworks that worked until I started thinking about this mo'o, because what I really want to do is I want to tell the stories. I want to tell a mo'olelo. Okay? So I had my kumos kind of help me, and I said, this is kind of what I want this chapter to be about. Can you help me? What would it be called using the word? So mo'o in Hawaiian is, yes, it's a lizard. In mythology, it was like a large dinosaur, but what's more important is the root word. Mo'o is what creates mo'olelo, mo'opuna, mo'oku au hau, etc. So I wanted to, as an English teacher, really play with that. Okay, so this is basically, I'm just going to tell this story about how I came up with this. Okay, so this whole story is basically a mo'olono. It's a series of reports, yeah? and so it's. I looked at other indigenous frameworks, and basically I needed a Hawaiian framework, and I think Makalapua was looking for the same thing. And so the title is Mo'ohelu o Alana, which is, Mo'ohelu is basically just a ledger. So it's an accounting, it's a ledger of Alana. basically started off with the Mo'olelo iho opokoleia, and that's the only thing that I can really translate. Basically, it translates to the abstract, and it just means it's a summary of the Mo'olelo. I start off with my Mo'olelo Ho'olana, which is a Ho'olana, it's an introduction, so it's basically the story of introduction, going on to my Mo'olelo Mo'oku Auhau. So I told you again, Mo'olelo is story, yarn, essay, fable, log. That word itself is really deep. But the Mo'olelo Mo'oku Auhau is basically the genealogy of this project. So I guess the Western term is conceptual framework, maybe. It basically answers the question of why this project has always been a part of my Mo'oku Auhau. That's all it explains. Okay. Then I move on to the Mo'okupuna, which is the ancestral lineage of this project. So it's a recognition of what has come before and what needs to be sustained or woven together or continued. So it's the interdependence and interconnectivity of all of this. And so I use the Olala no Ea, Palakahala, Momonakaha, Uki Uki. Okay? So when the pandanus fruit blooms, the hauki-uki, or the sea urchins, are fat. It's just one of that interconnectivity of nature and how the Hawaiians are so smart about knowing when things were right and right. Yeah. And then palakahala momonaka uhu. So the uhu is fat when the pandanus flower blooms because they feed on that fat hauki-uki. Yeah. So it's that. So basically, that chapter is why this, why now. Yeah. So it's a lot about being to the Ho'ailona, to the signs of readiness in the universe. Okay? Chapter 3 then is the Mo'oki'ina, which is basically a series of small movements. It's basically the choreography of the dissertation. Yeah, it's the choreography. It's the scene behind the curtain. It's who are the dancers? What's the dance? That's the Mo'oki'ina. And then we go to the large part, which is the Mo'olelo. That's the main story. What happened? Yeah. Chapter 5 then is the Kapilina Mo'olelo. So Pilina is to connect. It's the connection of the stories of what came before, what's happening now, what will happen later. And how do they weave together? So if the chapter 4 is the what, chapter 5 is using Sylvia's questions, which actually were my questions. It's the why, so what, now what. Okay? And finally, the Mo'opuna chapter 6, because with the Mo'opuna chapter, it's a continuation, right? It's a conclusion and continuation. Yeah? And so the transformation, or the big aha for me, once I kind of figured that out, it's not that it was easier to write this piece, but that it felt right in my gut that this was kind of the direction, and I knew what to do. Okay? So, my last mo'o is basically the methodology, and everybody is saying, I'm doing this methodology, mixed, and I was like, I'm doing a mo'o vai. That is my methodology. So mo'o vai is basically the lineage of valued practices. It is our lineage of valued practices. So I use Olala no Ea to basically guide me. And I wanted to make this indigenous, and then Gay kind of pointed out, it's not really indigenous. It's you're writing a Hawaiian paper. It's a little different. Yeah. So I felt a little uncomfortable with that because I'm not a Hawaiian speaker. But I found this in the New York Times, 1914, Prince Jonah Kuhio-Kalaniana Ole, who was in Congress for many years. He said, every race is proud of itself and proud of its history, and the Hawaiian race has a right to feel that pride. So then I let it go. I let all the unease go. What did use was uku kahana, uku kawa'a, little work, little gain, and basically what that told me was I have to prepare for multiple possibilities, and then when roadblocks come my way, and they did come my way, to not be ho'okano and just be aggressive and think that I was owed this and I'm gonna bust through these roadblocks, but to just kind of sit back and have faith that things will work out. Okay. So I had two stories. I'm only gonna tell you one. Because my younger son said, don't tell the one about being in the OBGYN's office. So, we were in class, right? And basically when we ended our summer, that next Monday, I was going to start my class. So while I was here on Oahu and really couldn't do anything, I was trying to make my agenda because the teachers were coming. Whether I was ready or not, they were coming. I wanted to plan 2 huakai, and I only had 1 huakai. In the middle, at the end of Cliff's class, I had to go to San Antonio because I was going to a conference in ISTE. Again, I still had 1 huakai, and it was on the 2nd week. I get into the plane, and I'm in the worst possible seat. I'm all the way at the end, in front of the galley, where there's only a middle seat, 2 bathrooms on the end, you can't recline. I'm in the middle. Okay? So I'm sitting there, and then who sits next to me? Well, there's a student that sits next to me, and then Pi'ilani, who is our high school Hawaiian dance and chant teacher, sits next to me. Oh, Alana, hello, wake up. So it's like all I had to do was I had to be brave because there was a lot I was going to ask her. But anyway, I just kind of turned to her and I said, PE, I'm doing this class with the teachers, it's on culture-based education, and I was looking for a huakai, and Uncle Keone, it just didn't work out, but I'd love to go to Puna, and PE's like, I can take you to Puna. Why don't we end up at my grandma's house in Kalapana, and her grandma, Auntie Minnie, lives in the fields of Kalapana. The lava basically stops around her house. I'm like, great, but she said, but I'm going Disneyland, so I only can do it on this week. Well, it was my first week. Okay, so that's kind of what that happened to me multiple times. Okay, so I just I believe that if you plan for these multiple possibilities and not and just kind of let it go when things don't work your way. Better things actually happen, and as long as you're kupono. So that had to do with imai ka ikalo, imai ka ikalo ika oha. Yeah. So the goodness of the tarot is evidenced by the babies. Okay. So finally, in conclusion, as far as my class, the question is pa'ane keia hale. So is your house steady or firm? Cannot tell. It's too early. But maybe the question is, so when you're making the roof, are your lashings tight? Okay, can you at least do that? And then I think for my little niche, my community, yes, the roof is holding, but with all mo'o-worthy work, there is more to do. So there are more stories to tell. There are more storytellers that need to step forward. There are more teachers, there are more kupuna who need to have their stories told, and there are more places to explore and more students to serve. So, ho'omauia, to be continued. See, I passed. You notice I went past the.
No, this is an easy one because I think you need to copyright. Is it mo'o worthy? Because that's going to be the next catchphrase, like what is that? Sustainability with the Ina highlighted. Mo'o worthy. I can see being the next big catchphrase. Mahalo. That was beautiful.
way you use language, both English and Hawaiian. You describe yourself as, I think you said you were, did you say that?
Yes.
So help me with that. Help me with that. So, explain.
No, I really don't speak.
So what did you just do?
Fluently, not fluent.
I'm not a fluent.
Yeah.
If somebody tells me something in Hawaiian, I can understand what they're saying, but I can't answer things. Yeah.
You can answer back in English.
That's my next goal. I actually would like to work for Makona. Makalapua. Sorry. No, I did. I did. Remember, I did say that to you, and she said, "Oh, you can work for me." I said, "Oh, I gotta work hard."
I thought you were so courageous to step out of the boundaries of what we've all been doing, right? Trying to make sense of our stories using the structures that were given to us through the academic institution. So I just am amazed by your courage to be able to do that. Thank you.
I wanted to echo that too. And even from Colorado, it's almost free because you bring a different way of looking at it, and I think that'll really come in handy for future generations pursuing what we're doing, because it's not just one thing, and you guys have just opened the door for so many others.
To piggyback on both of those, I think the work of creating, developing, generating, envisioning these new methodologies is as important as the research itself, if not more. And I wonder if there's not a way of, think of all the research methodology books that are out there for typical colonialism. If there's some way of documenting, and it seems, as timekeeper, I think I'm really feeling a tremendous tension. Even as I say, I wonder if there's a way of documenting these methodologies, right? And as timekeeper, I'll be honest, it's very hard when you're timing someone who's telling a story. And so many people have, mine was like, this segment, no problem. It's not hard to divide that. But when someone's telling this in a story, the way that you have, it's very hard to hold up the cards. And so that's another abutment. Is that a word? Cultural. It's a cultural tension. Even in this part of the complex.
For me, this experience was so scary when I was going through and wasn't able to find research to support what I was doing. I was terrified. But what I did is nothing compared to what you did in terms of being bold and risky. And so I think it's important that you share that with the future cohorts and generations of researchers, because, I mean, I don't know how scary it was for you, but that's a very bold and beautiful story that you just told. And it's important to share your experience. I mean, you had gays supporting you, obviously, and others. But, what you did is neat, and you need to make sure you share that. Let other people know it's okay to take a risk, to do something a little different.
I think it's less scary, and it's because of that. Right? There's not just one school, so even if we have different metaphors or different ways of coming to it, I think it would have been more scary for me, and it would have been more time zapping and more soul zapping if I had to force myself to just get it done and fit it in something that I really tried. I wrote and wrote until I got to the point where this doesn't make sense being here, or I don't know what exactly they mean by this. So thank you.
I think in terms of the sharing, I think you are creating, I will use what Hunter signature pedagogy, and then you have to share what you're doing. Same with Makalapua and metaphors, Moenaha, with the faculty that lead this program, so that they too feel really free in receiving all of these very creative things that come. Because that's a pressure. And think of our advisors reading 5 of these humongous works on a time frame. And there's like this vague notion sometimes, oh, it's supposed to be like this, and not vague, sometimes strong in others. Fitting in a